Welcome back, everybody, to Talk Shonen. I'm Jared.
I'm Turtle.
And we're back to talk about nerdy shit.
Fuck yeah, nerdy shit.
Hells yeah. All right. So last time was a little bit spur of the moment, so we didn't know what we were going to talk about.
Pulled it out of our butts and it went for it.
Yeah, exactly. Now this time we have a little bit more preparation. We did a little bit of research. We got some notes and stuff.
Got a list.
Yeah, and we're going to go head to head. Not necessarily head to. It's not a competition.
Yeah, well, it is because you're probably wrong, but
I'm not gonna. No, there's no way.
Almost certainly.
No, we'll see. But we're gonna do our top 5, each of ours, of giant mechs in media.
Just mechs.
Mechs. Okay, sorry. Yeah, because mechs can.
Mechs are all shapes and sizes. Let's not mech shame.
Slightly larger than human.
Well,
mechs.
they're almost certainly larger than human mechs, unless it's like a mouse in a mech that's human sized.
Dope.
Yeah,
I love this idea.
Yeah, that's a.
So basically, the Men in Black.
Yeah.
Piloted human suits.
That's a mech.
Not on my list. Is it on your list?
No, it's not on my list either.
Okay, so it's not on your list. So we're good. So everything, at least on mine, is bigger than humans.
All of mine are bigger than humans, but one of them is only like the size of a car.
Okay.
Who started last time?
I think I started last time, so I'll have you go first with your number 5.
All right. I'm going to bring up my number 5. Number 5 is hands down the most powerful on my list.
Okay.
But not I like it. I love it.
Mm-hmm. You want more of it.
I want more of it, but
Gotcha.
it's just not in my top 5. It's not higher than 5 in my top 5.
Because power isn't everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
My number 2 is technically the most powerful on my list. It's not all about power. There's other things that we take into consideration.
So Gurren Lagann is my number 5.
Holy shit, that's my number 2.
Is it really?
Yes.
Well, Gurren Lagann is hands down the most powerful, probably most powerful on all of our lists.
Yeah, just period.
It's a galaxy conquering mega mech.
What were the reasons why you had it at number 5?
Okay, so...
And I'll see how they compare to the reasons why I put it at number 2.
My primary reason I dropped it down to 5.
Okay.
Gurren Lagann falls very far into, forget sci-fi, it's magic. It's a magic mech.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie about that.
Yeah, I love it. It's awesome. But it's all about, it has more power based on, willpower.
Yeah.
It's a magic mech. It's not really... Sciencey. And mechs, to me, always had that hard... even though they're definitely science fiction and there's a lot of fantasy involved with sciences we don't have or work.
Of course, yeah.
Fake metals like Gundam and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Gurren Lagann falls, especially later seasons, fall.
The second arc? The anti-spiral arc?
Yeah, super far
But that's what made me fall in love with the series as a whole.
Yeah.
Was the fact that it was so outlandish.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it was on such a gigantic scale.
Yeah.
That it's like every other anime that's ever come out, it's like, anytime they're like, oh, the world's going to be destroyed, I'm like, Gurren Lagann has now set the bar so
higher.
Goddamn high.
Yeah, absolutely
that you're not even scratching. I mean, one of the main reasons I had it as number 2 was pretty much the same reason you have as number 5, which is its ability, its adaptability in just taking over larger gunmen, because that's what it is. Gunmen in Gurren Lagann, and the exact thing is Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann.
Yeah, Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann.
Yeah.
It is an absolute... If you haven't seen it, it is an absolutely phenomenal show.
I highly suggest anybody that is getting into anime...
drastically different than the first couple episodes. So don't let... The first couple episodes start way different than the rest of the show.
But it will set you up for... It actually introduces something in this anime that aren't necessarily in a lot of anime, so it's a good one to kind of get used to if you're kind of new to anime, which is making you fall in love with a character that's not going to be there for very long.
It definitely murders some people.
Yeah.
It's real good, and it takes a lot of turns, and it still has all of your traditional mecha candy, eye candy.
Oh, there's so much fan service.
Believe in I quote it all the time. Believe in the you that believes in the me that believes in the you.
Yes. Yeah. Kamina is the greatest.
Oh, he's amazing.
And for anybody that doesn't know kind of how Gurren Lagann works, Gurren Lagann is actually Gurren and Lagann.
Yes.
There's Lagann is the I think is how we're supposed to be pronouncing it.
Yeah, we're saying it wrong.
So Lagann is Simon's drill gunman.
Yeah,
his
it's a
little
head.
thing.
It's
Yeah,
just like a
little tiny head with a drill.
capsule mech that is like, it might as well be like Dr. Wily's flying pod.
Yeah.
Except it drills into other gunmen.
Yeah.
Takes control of them.
And then makes it one big gunman.
Yeah, makes a bigger gunman.
Yeah, and then Gurren
awesome.
was Kamina's.
Yep.
And Kamina got it. It was originally called like Gunner. It was like
something
Gunner
like
Man
that,
or something like that. And it was a gunman called like, whatever. And then he renamed it Gurren with the giant ass shades that were used as the boomerang.
Yeah.
So when Lagan attached to Gurren, it became Gurren Lagan and became like the most powerful gunman.
It was super, boss.
And now I'm going to get into spoilers a little bit, and this is why it was my number 2, is because of, as the show goes on, Lagan just keeps drilling bigger, more powerful gunmen until in the second arc, and like I said, spoilers, so if you don't want to hear it, just skip forward a little bit. It gets to the point where it's absorbing gunmen and ships that are the size of planets.
Yeah, it's absorbing like insane. Like the end of the show is like galaxy spanning utter oblivion.
Aren't they throwing galaxies at people?
There's a whole thing. Yeah, it's
like
insane.
They throw a galaxy the size of the Milky Way at Togatep and Gurren Lagann.
It's utterly batshit.
Yeah,
and I
it's
love
amazing.
It.
And it's televised to the whole universe because they're like, we need an audience.
But it is also, that's the reason I dropped it down to 5.
Because it's so fantastical.
It's so truly out there fantastical.
I mean, especially since you're a lover of the science.
I like sci-fi. I like hard sci-fi.
Yeah.
I like soft sci-fi. I like fantasy. But they're different in my head. I like different aspects of them.
And this one blended it.
This one was a
much.
heavy blend of both, and that kind of knocks it down off my list a little bit.
Okay.
All right. So what's your number 5?
All right. So my number 5 is I went with a show that when it's another anime. I think all of mine are anime. But I went with a show that was pretty big but not huge when we were kids, and then has become like a cult classic. And that is Zoid's New Century.
Oh, I love Zoid's New Century. I love Chaotic Century more, but I started with New Century.
New Century is where it started.
Yeah.
And the mech that I went with, the Zoid, as they call them, they're like hybrid animal.
Living mecha animals.
Yeah, they're like alive.
Yeah.
The one that I went with is, and this was not my favorite. My favorite was actually Shadow Fox, the secondary character. And we'll talk about that in another episode, how we don't like main characters. But
that's a whole thing we were talking about before this.
But it's the MC's Zoid, and it is Liger Zero.
Yep. Well, he's modular. He's got a lot of personality for the mech. The main character, Bit Cloud, is a stereotypical anime main character.
I'm going to achieve it. Yeah.
I can do anything. Oh, yeah. He's that guy.
I fight for right, and because of that, I will always win.
Yeah, and obsessed with food, and
it's every trope that you can possibly think of.
But Liger Zero is like...
He's just dope.
He's dope. He's really cool looking. He's not over complicated like some of the Zoids.
Yeah.
Like
Lena as it goes further, like they get to the point where it does fuse, and that's where it's like, now you're getting more complicated.
Yeah.
But just the normal CAS system, the changing armor system.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That was dope. And like I even have written down here all the different ones, just in case. If you guys don't remember, you probably remember all of them.
Yeah.
But we have, depending on the situation, which is why it was so great, because it was so modular. But you had Liger.
I want to know.
Okay.
Which one's your favorite?
Orange.
So Schneider.
Schneider.
Yeah, Schneider's blade.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Panzer's guns.
Yeah, because there is Liger Zero Jaeger.
Yep.
Which is the blue one.
Blue, that's all jets.
Speed, maneuverability. It had the shock cannon in its chest.
Jaeger has less armor, giant jet engines.
Yeah.
And like a single shot cannon.
But it was a shock cannon.
Oh, yeah.
It was electricity coming out of its chest.
Fast.
And it had like the burning claws though.
Yeah.
It still had that.
Its normal
that's just Liger Zero.
Schneider was my favorite.
Yeah.
He was orange. He had blades.
CQC had the retractable blades. It was made for up close combat.
Oh yeah.
So cool.
Yeah,
and then there was Panzer,
which
was the green one.
And Panzer's super dumb.
It was heavily armored with missiles.
Liger couldn't move when it was wearing Panzer.
It was slowly walking.
It could drag its tank ass along.
Yeah.
And then it did one big blast and then ejected all of its armor.
Because it shot all of it at the same time.
So its armor was useless. It was just a gun platform.
Yeah.
It was dumb.
It was like taping guns
10-year-old
to your
me
body.
thought it was awesome because it had giant fucking cannons.
And it came out at a point where you're like, he might actually lose this.
Yeah.
Because isn't that around the time when that happened? Isn't that around the time where where the other guy lost the Wolf Zord?
Yeah, he lost his standard Command Wolf.
Yeah, when he lost Command Wolf and before he got Shadow Fox.
It was, and that's when Panzer came out. And
because they needed that artillery.
They needed artillery.
My favorite part, though, is how they got it on there, because it wasn't like it was inside him the whole time. They shot these fucking things from their base, and they were like rocket guided, and it was like this whole fucking change animation where it would jump in the air and these shits would just connect to the side. It was just great. Everything. Didn't they use the CAS system as a weapon in an episode also?
No, they used the judge pod. So the judges, Liger Zoid's New Century was all arena battle. But there was no arenas. It was just like, this is the battlefield.
Yeah.
And there's these giant satellite that was like the judges. And they were just these robots in pods. And they would plummet these capsules from orbit into the ground. The judges would pop up, rate the battle, make sure everything was legit. One time when like one of them, I forget the bad guy was doing some bullshit.
Yeah.
And he was like,
Maybe
we're going to do
it might have been Chaotic Sentry that they used the CAS system as a gun then.
They might have, because
I think they were locked inside of their base.
Oh.
And they needed to escape, but then also something was coming at them.
I don't remember.
And they were like, the only thing we could do is the CAS system.
It's been a few years since I've seen either of these series, so
yeah.
There's a new one on Netflix, a new Zoids.
I did see that.
I haven't watched it yet, and I lost interest when I saw that they ride it more like horses.
Yeah.
Than they do like as soon as I saw that, I was like,
because it's not like a mech anymore. Now it legitimately is.
It's like Horizon Zero Dawn. You're like riding a mech horse kind of thing.
It's a living creature that you're just like, you're my friend now. I've tamed you.
We're pals. I'm like, no, I don't watch you for the people ever.
Yeah, we don't really give a shit about the people. We give a shit about giant robots fighting each other.
Right. Yeah. Let's move on.
All right. So you're number 4 then.
My number 4, this is not technically Japanese anime.
That's fine.
This is, I guess, technically Canadian.
Okay.
Exo Squad. But specifically,
oh my God, yes.
Yeah. Specifically, I went with Wolf Bronski's Ground Assault E-frame.
Okay.
The Ground Assault is a heavy armored E-frame with, instead of having arms, has these 2 massive barrels on either side that are just missile and gun launchers. And it's so here's a couple reasons
why I want this. This is a little known show.
Oh,
also.
It's not super.
Like hardly anybody watched this.
Which was for kids, is all fucked up. Like, it's about a slave race that humanity made to mine for them, basically. Rebelling. And mostly wiping humanity out. And then the humans fighting back. And they frame it like the humans are the good guys, but you're watching it like, I don't know.
Even when I was a kid, I remember when it came out.
Yeah.
Like when they really put the emphasis on, like, oh yeah, well we kind of made these people.
Yeah.
To
the
do
Neo-Sapiens.
The work.
They're called Neo-Sapiens.
Neo-Sapiens. They're like, well, we made them to do this work for us.
Yeah.
And I even remember as a kid, I'm like, that kind of makes you the assholes.
Yeah. This came out when I was like 4, 5, 6, something like that. Really young.
It's why, like, I don't remember all of the. I had like 3 of them.
Oh, I had,
but
a ton
I don't remember. Their
I
names.
Still have the toys floating around in one of my Rubbermaid bins.
We're gonna need to, once we have like an appropriate set, we're gonna have those in the background.
But so one of the other things that was super cool about these mechs,
the one that had the missile launcher arm. That's the one that I had.
They're basically human sized. They're car sized. You get in them, they're exoskeletons.
It's like the power loader from Aliens.
They're very much like the power loader from Aliens, except fully enclosed for space. They can all basically fly. Most importantly, they dock with your neck so they control them mentally. And there's implications at the very end of the show, not the actual end because it ended before it finished, but the last season or episode. The mechs
only go for like
it only went for like a season or 2 seasons. I think it was squared for a second season.
Real short.
Yeah. There's implications at the end of season 1 or 2, whatever it is, that the mechs are taking on artificial intelligence from being bonded with.
So they were gonna just start. Like your mech was gonna run away from you and just start its own.
It actually went the opposite. The mech like sacrificed itself to save Lieutenant JT Marsh.
It's amazing that you remember all of their names.
I'm telling you, this is one of my
JT March. He's the one that had like the very triangular.
Yeah, triangular front. Yeah, weird like shavings on the side. He was the commander. His mech. His mech looked like a fighter jet almost. Like he had like square front and had wings that came out the top.
That's what, and he had the one arm had the three rocket missile launcher. That's the one that I had. Yeah.
I went with Wolf Bronsky because he was the heavyweight he was the senior. He was old, like in the Exo unit longer than anyone.
Yeah, since the beginning
of the war. And he was a gruff, burpy, kind of slobberish guy that literally would like give you the shirt off his back and also enjoyed art and stuff.
Yeah.
It was super weird.
That was the good thing about the American cartoon equivalents of anime.
Yeah.
Which are just American cartoons because we don't give them a different designation.
Yeah, exactly. Western anime, I guess.
Yeah, Western, yeah. A lot of them, they tried to inject a lot of heart into like their characters.
Yeah.
Which in anime, they try to just like, they were like, we have, different archetypes of people and they will get across different
Traditional
messages.
anime usually falls pretty heavy on particular character archetypes.
Yeah.
And then you only see development as it builds.
Yeah.
American tries to start with that development, which can often fall flat because you don't have any history to have any.
Yeah, which is why there's so much flashback in Western animation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I went with him because he's awesome. And his mech makes the most sense to me because, there's legs and it's walking and it flies.
Yeah.
But the arms never made sense to me because the melee is non-existent for these things.
Yeah,
they're gunners.
They never do anything.
And his arms are just giant cannons. Like, it just made... And he had a grappling hook thing on the toy and like a bunch of other stuff.
Exo Squads was another one that I think was designed for, they were like, these shits will sell.
Oh, yeah.
Like this
and they reprinted them. So the ones I have, I don't have originals anymore. The ones I have are like Tech Wars or something like that. And they're... Someone bought the rights to the models and then resold them, and I found them at like a KB Toys before they shut down.
Oh my god, KB Toys!
And like bought like
drop a like if you're old enough to remember KB Toys.
Bought like every single one I could find that was different for like $4 a piece.
That's
and
fucking
I
great.
refused to get rid of them, and I regret so heavily the ones I let go when I was younger because I had a lot of them. I had the giant yellow construction one. I had the walker.
That one I do remember. I didn't have enough money for that one.
There was a couple years where all I wanted were Exo Squad, and I'm sure I drove my mom and family insane because it was very short lived, and those toys got harder and harder to find
because they were
only
cool.
wanted them.
Yeah, kids wanted them. Kids wanted the toys. Yeah, because they didn't even. A lot of kids, like the kids that I knew, didn't even know that it was a show.
Yeah,
so they were just like, oh, these things are cool, and they would buy them.
Yeah.
I was watching the show, and I was like, no, you don't get it. There's like a story, everything like that. But it's so, and then once it stopped, then it turned into the stores were like, well, why should we keep having
they
these?
just weren't producing them enough. The stores weren't stocking them. There wasn't enough craving for them. I can't think of that.
And I think that was around the time that like anime started coming out. Like Pokemon started slowly matriculating.
That was it was
and stuff like that.
Pre-Pokemon, but not that long before it, I don't think.
Yeah. There was always something new, especially back in like the late 90s. That there was always a new wave to ride.
Yeah.
When you went to the toy store. There was going to be something new that
every
just came
season was a new fad kind of. That's what the whole thing with Kirby, not Kirby, Furbies.
Furbies, yeah.
Furbies, and then like the Tickle Me Elmos and all these things for years. It was insane.
Yeah, it was always something new.
What's your number?
So my number 4 is, this is where we're going to get into Gundam territory.
Gundam.
You can't roll your eyes at Gundam.
I rolled my eyes a little bit.
And it is from Mobile Fighter G.
Okay, I love G Gundam.
Which is, out of the Gundams, one that does not get enough love.
And is also the most fanciful.
Yes.
So make sure that it makes sense that that's kind of on your list there.
Yeah. And it is the Master Gundam, also known as, and I have the thing for it, GF13-001 NHII.
Well, Master Gundam was boss. That was the one that transformed into a dragon, right?
Master Gundam? No. That's the Neo China's one.
Oh, okay.
That was, I think that literally was just called Dragon Gundam.
Oh, you're right. That was Dragon.
So there was that one where its arm was like a dragon also, and then when it transformed.
Yeah.
But Master Gundam was the first antagonist's Gundam, which it was piloted by Master Asia.
Yep.
and it was for Neo Hong Kong.
That's
and aesthetically, this was the coolest one because it had that dark aesthetic where it was is blacks on grays, and then it was just accented by red. It had the big ass horns.
Yeah, it was super sweet.
The coolest part of, and this is probably one of the reasons why you probably like it, is the piloting system.
Oh, it's the coolest. The piloting system. So like Jared knows me already. I'm big into the how things happen. The G Gundam piloting system used like a neoprene body sensing suit. They literally wrap them in like this like liquid plastic suit.
Yeah.
And then the Gundams mimic their fighting style. So
it was basically motion capture.
Yeah.
They were on like
really
a motion capture stage.
Advanced motion capture.
Yeah.
So the people piloting them had to be good martial artists.
Yep.
Or it didn't matter how powerful your Gundam was, you'd get wrecked.
Exactly. If you didn't know how to throw a punch in real life, your Gundam was going to get its shit wrecked.
It was such a stereotypical show as far as like how it stereotyped countries. Like America had a boxer. Yeah. That was his fighting style, was boxing.
I found out Spain had a matador one.
Yeah, he had a matador.
Where it literally just some of the less known like Gundams in that for like the countries that they're like, oh, these are throwaway countries. They're just gonna get their ass whooped by somebody else. They had some of the dumbest fucking designs.
Oh, and they were hilarious. They were so cool.
Yeah, but it was the main characters. Oh yeah, had some of the most iconic, coolest looking.
Shining Gundam was the shit.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And which is funny because Shining Gundam kind of ties in with Master Gundam because of the fact that their main attacks were just the polar opposite. You had
they were the yin and yang.
You had burning fingers, which was amazing because every time he won a fight, he just drove his fingers into the face of a Gundam.
He literally fingered them to death.
To death. Just threw their metal through everything.
Murdered,
into their chests.
Yeah.
Which is always crazy because that's where the pilot is.
Yeah.
But and Master Gundam had the exact same thing, but it was darkness fingers.
Yeah.
Which was basically just burning finger, but recolored.
Yeah, just darker. That's it.
They just reskinned it. They made it purple instead of the orange because that's how you know it's evil. Because purple and green are evil colors.
Yeah, of course.
And red and orange were good colors.
And it was such a good, weird show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also had the wings that it would come down and it would look like a cloak.
Yeah.
To defend itself more. And this is just why it's my favorite on that show, is because of the fact that since Master Asia, also known as Undefeated of the East, since he was so badass and he knew that he could kick the shit out of any of the people that were going up against him, he fought with his arms crossed against everybody except for Shining Gundam.
Yeah, he just kicked the whole time. I totally forgot. This is another one I haven't seen in years. Yeah. I haven't seen this one in so long.
And if he would throw a punch, it would be so fast. He would just
do like
he would just look, and the person would get punched in the face, and his arm would just move slightly.
Oh my god, it was so good,
so great. That's why he's sitting right there.
So I see you're highly mobile, extremely flexible, super good combat Gundams.
All right,
and I raise you an incredibly slow, ponderous, Mega Deuce.
Is your number 3 Big O?
My number 3 is Big O.
My number 3 is Big O. Okay,
no way.
Cool.
All right,
that's
cool.
So good. I'm so
we
good.
lined up on Big O.
There we go.
All right, so the Mega Deuce.
All right.
The show Big O is very noir anime. It's a Japanese Batman.
Basically.
Yeah, like
it's Richard Smith.
Yeah, he's an attorney. And
he's a negotiator.
That's right, negotiator.
Yeah, he's a negotiator with a robot assistant named Dorothy.
Yes, and a butler.
A butler that's basically Alfred.
100% Alfred.
He's 100%. He's badass.
They don't
he
even
drives
try
his
to
car.
pretend he's not Alfred.
He beats the shit out of people.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then he pilots Big O, which is a Mega Deuce. And Mega Deuces, something about Big O did a really good job of showing the scale
and weight
of these things. They did this whole thing, like it was like Pacific Rim style, where like you could really grasp the gravity of these battles. It was slow but powerful. every Megaduce, there's only a couple that had any sort
because
of...
normally in animes, mechs are like ninjas, basically.
Yeah.
It's
look, G Gundam.
Yeah,
these
there's
things
no
are
sense of
giants.
scale.
Yeah, and it's
like
enormous.
they're fighting in big open areas, so you don't even see how big they are, and they can jump around like a regular human being. So it's real nimble. Yeah. And Big O was the exact opposite.
He was the size of buildings, small buildings, but
and he
buildings
would just fuck up.
And
no,
just,
he was basically as big as everything.
I think his
there.
foot was like the size of 2 cars. They scale, and that's the other thing. A lot
it's
of mech
in
shows,
city.
The scale is always changing. Like they never quite get it right because you don't have a lot of comparison.
Yeah.
Big O is in city. It shows up because it's as wide as 2 large train tracks.
And it's carried underground.
Carried underground on these 2 rail systems.
That's the butler's main job, is typing in where for Big O to be transported to.
Explodes out of the subway system.
Destroys fucking everything in its way.
Absolutely obliterates entire
to rescue this person. Fuck those buildings.
Fortunately, most of the city is deserted because this is all like post-apocalyptic.
Because it's in domed cities and everything like that.
And so they have these like giant beam cannons. One of the things I love
from
is
his fucking forehead.
The kinetic punch. So he's got these pistons in his elbows, these massive sledgehammer pistons, and he'd go punch, and the pistons would connect, like condense. Transferring more inertia.
What's hilarious is I was like, that's my favorite thing because that's his iconic finishing move, which for everybody else, their finishing move is something super flashy, and his was just a big fucking punch.
Oh, yeah, just I punch you so hard. I punch you so hard. That was it.
Yeah. It's like, I'm going to punch you hard, and then it's going to be harder.
Yeah.
It's like a rogue in D&D. It'd be like, have you ever tried pushing harder on the knife?
It's like it sounds so stupid, and it works so well.
Yeah, because these were not a Megaduce on Megaduce fight was something slow.
Yeah,
it was every time their arms would move, like you would just see the buildings it's crossing.
Wind blows, people are screaming. It was a legit mega mech battle.
Yeah,
and there's all these implications and flashbacks, and even in the intro to the show, like. About like how Megaduces used to be the main instrument of war, and there were lots of them,
and that's why the world is pretty much destroyed.
Well, that and a bunch of other stuff. The whole show is
have
crazy.
Amnesia.
Yeah, and the whole world has amnesia. The whole the show is insane. It's so good.
Yeah,
there's a lot of twists and turns. I don't want to give away too much, but the mechs are
gorgeously designed.
They're all very specific. They all have personality.
Big O's arms are basically the size of his body.
Oh, they're insane.
Like that's like he has an almost gorilla-like build.
Yeah.
With it, I mean, he's purely human from head to toe.
Yeah.
Like humanoid, but his arms are just
and it's very
thinner here,
gothic.
and then very gothic style.
Yeah, it's a very good. Like I said, it's a heavy noir show. Big O is just amazing.
Fun fact about Big O.
Yes.
Because I included this.
Yeah.
Did you know that Big O is one of the three bigs, and what the other 2 are and what they're based off of?
I did, but it's been a long time.
It's Big O, Big Duo.
That's right,
and
Duo.
Big Fow.
I did know that.
And they're based off of Jewish mythological creatures.
Really?
And it's Behemoth, Leviathan, and what's the other one? What's the third one? And Ziz.
Okay.
How to forget Ziz?
Yeah.
It's fucking 2 letters.
Yeah.
But so Big O is Behemoth.
Okay.
Because he is the hulking land creature.
Makes sense, yeah.
And then Big Fow is
the flyer,
Leviathan.
Right? Or no, that's
Big
water.
Big Fow is the one that was designed to be able to move better in water. And then Big Duo
is the one with giant. So Big O has those giant pistons on his arms, like we were talking about. Big Duo has giant, like multi-propellers.
Yeah, fucking huge ass propellers,
and like flies. It flies. Flies. It's the size of the Chrysler Building.
Yep.
It is entirely armor and destruction.
Yeah.
And it flies. And when it took off, and it's not like it just like takes off like a jet, like Gundam wing bullshit.
Yeah.
It like, you see, like, there's wind up in it.
Yeah.
It's ponderous. Even the flying is ponderous. And it's
there was always build up to it. Like there was just
landing
that
was
moment.
Guaranteeing something under it was destroyed.
He was basically just half the time he was just dropping from the sky.
Oh yeah.
Because he was fine.
Yeah.
And then it was just
yeah.
And then it was just shockwave.
I think Big O did that in one episode. He jumped off a building or something and like
Roger Smith wasn't really that worried about collateral damage.
Roger Smith could not have given a shit about anyone. That whole show was about like how Roger Smith was apathetic but driven, and it's a weird combination.
It's very Batman. It's very much. I just want to find out why we lost all of our memories.
Yep.
Find out what the fuck happened in the world, and I don't give a shit what I have to break in between me and that realization.
To start off every battle, he got him Big O. Held his arms like this, where the controls were down, and went, Big O, showtime. And that was the beginning.
I think what it was is showtime meant the battle was actually starting.
Showtime was his command words.
Yeah.
Like, he had a password. So that's the other thing. This is like, used to be pre-apocalypse military tech.
Yeah.
Roger Smith was the only one that could pilot Big O because he was the only authorized user.
Not necessarily. Remember
Dorothy did help a lot too.
Well, it's not only just Dorothy. What's the guy's name? The fucking bandages and stuff like that.
That dude doesn't count. He's a whole nother category.
He has his memory though. So, yeah.
And then so like he had the authorization code that he would use with Big O. To like turn it on, because like,
and then it had the message that came across.
Cast ye in the name of God, guilty, and then it would
not guilty was as if he was in it.
Yeah,
and then if it refused to acknowledge, it was ye not.
Yeah,
because it would say, and then if the pilot died, it was ye guilty. Yeah.
Oh, it's insane. It was a really awesome show.
Yeah,
I highly recommend.
And what's great is that you just got my number 3 out of there.
Yeah, so that's our number 3s right there.
Yeah, and we said my number 2 because my number 2 was your number 5. So what's your next one?
My next one is pulling it up if my messenger works. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. Classic. I think lots of people have heard of this one. It's super popular.
Okay.
The Macross Valkyrie. Robotech. Macross.
Okay, yes.
The Valkyrie.
Okay, yeah.
Do you not know what the Valkyries are?
Not Robotech. I didn't watch as much. I didn't get as into Robotech.
Macross Valkyries, Robotech. Okay. But it started with Macross.
Yeah.
Americans renamed it Robotech. There's a whole thing with Exo Squad and Macross where they
overlap
do remember
that.
In lots of weird ways, but they're not actually the same universe. It's all has to do with like toy rights and stuff. And the Macross,
I remember they said that was one of the contributing factors as to why Exo Squad.
So, and then Robotech and Macross have all kinds of weird copyright issues with the shows themselves.
Yeah.
Which led into a lot of mix. But the Valkyrie is alien tech that was taken by humans and turned into working stuff. They're the size of fighter jets, a little bit bigger.
Okay.
They transform into three different modes. I'm sorry.
Okay.
They transform 3 modes. They have
starting to remember it slightly more.
They have a jet mode.
Okay, that's what I remember.
They have a Guardian mode. Guardian is a jet with arms and legs.
Okay.
And then they have
I thought that was just a transition
mode. It is. It's a transition, but it's a transition because in that form, they're faster, more nimble, but they're easier to destroy. Yeah, and they can grab you, but they can use their guns and stuff.
Yeah.
But they have less protection for the pilot.
Okay.
The jets are way faster and better in space. The third mode is Battloid. Battloid is full-blown mecha humanoid with guns and...
See, I didn't know that there was an in-between. I remember Robotech having the jets, and I remember Robotech having the robots.
And there's a bunch of other ones in there. I mean, there's the number of mechs in this show is pretty out there, and there's lots of stuff from the Zentradi, which are the bad aliens. The bad aliens that are the size of giants. I mean, they're huge.
Which is always great.
And they pilot these battle pods and stuff, or just have giant guns. The Battloids...
When you're a giant, you really just...
Yeah. The Battloids only make the human pilots the size of the Zentradi.
Okay.
Like there's a whole scene, one of the best pilots in the entirety of Macross ever. I can't remember his name now. Oh my God. It's something with a Z2 or something.
Yeah.
He gets like stuck on a Zentradi ship and he mugs one and very delicately, while piloting a mech, puts on the dude's uniform in a closet. And it's rated as one of the most impressive piloting maneuvers in the history of the show.
Because you have to think about it. Everything that he's doing
super delicate.
His grabbing of it and his putting it on and lifting the foot and trying to balance and then put through. That's all.
Try to puppet a marionette into dressing an outfit using only the controls.
Yeah.
without and by the way, super strong hydraulics and stuff. So you're
exactly. It would basically be like trying to have a marionette, like a naked marionette, put on its own clothes.
Yes,
not you dress it.
Yeah,
you have
while
that
controlling
puppet.
the hands and things and like puts on like the uniform and like sneaks off the ship. Yeah, it's insane. But so the Valkyrie is one of those classic mechs. It's old school and it's had a lot of reiterations and new series over the years and things like that. But
because didn't Robotech come out with one not too long ago?
There's a whole bunch of stuff like that, and there's keeps going. It's a really popular series.
Yeah,
and there's a lot I love about the show, and there's a lot of mechs I like in it. Like I like just the Super Valkyrie, which is just a heavily armored battleoid. Basically, it's not.
There's always
a bunch of like weird.
This is just this is the buffed up version of that one.
I wanted to for the list. I just wanted to go with the classic. Valkyrie, just standard issue. This is what started it all. One of the main pilots in the show in the beginning was just a stunt flyer that ended up getting sucked up with the ship when it accidentally faster than light traveled. It's a whole thing.
Okay.
So that's my number 2.
All right. So I guess we'll do our honorable mentions.
Yes. Well, what's your number 2?
My number 2 was Gurren Lagann.
Oh, Gurren Lagann. That's right. We did that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we did that one already.
Okay. So I have 2 honorable mentions.
I had 2, but I now know that my one is going to be yours.
Okay.
But my one honorable mention is Voltron.
Oh, well, one of my honorable mentions is Voltron. Oh, Voltron's an awesome one.
Yeah. Voltron is just incredible. I don't love him to the point where I could put him on the list, but as a mech, he's incredible.
Oh, Voltron, Voltron fills all of the niches, and it's one of those things I loved but never loved enough. I also a huge
just
Voltron
never
fan.
Understood really the whole we have 5 pilots, and I'm like, well, what are you really doing then? Like, do you legitimately have to coordinate? I step now, you step now. Oh, we got pushed back. Okay, let's try to regain balance. And now I'm going to coordinate
Voltron
what I'm doing.
Also kind of fell into the realm of magic in some of it. With how it's
where'd
a weird
the sword
show.
Come from?
Yeah, it's a weird show.
Where'd the extra mass come from for the middle part?
Yeah, it's just a whole thing. Yeah.
But he's a great mech. It's undeniable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of my honorable mentions is only loosely a mech.
Okay, I'm interested in this to see because it's only loosely.
There's a show. It's one of my all-time favorite shows of all time. All-time favorite shows of all time. That's
all-time favorite shows of all time.
All-time favorite shows of all time.
That's how much he loves
it. It's called Outlaw Star.
I fucking love Outlaw Star. Okay.
The ships are called grappler ships.
Yeah, because they have
giant grappler arms. That's mech enough for me.
It's okay. It's a reach.
When your ship is pulling out a knife and stabbing the other ship, that's a mech battle in space.
They also had exos. They had exo-sized suits in that. So
they also had magic because they had like caster shells and actual wizards and shit.
We'll go into We'll do an entire episode.
We could do Outlaw Star is one of the shortest lived 26 episodes.
We need to do an Outlaw Star compared to Cowboy Bebop.
Oh,
compared
absolutely.
to Trigun.
Oh, those 3
just Western style.
They're all in that style. And Outlaw Star is the short one. It didn't get enough. It had it built a world that had a lot more to it. And you got 26 episodes, barely touched the surface.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's one of mine. What's your other?
No, I can't go into my other.
Oh yeah, that's right, because the other's mine.
Yeah.
My other honorable mention is, of course, RX-78, the original OG.
Yeah.
Beginner to them all. Number 1, Gundam.
Yeah.
Journey to Jaburo.
Yeah.
It's the stock standard. First Gundanium Gundam.
First everything Gundanium, yeah.
First ever truly Gundam.
And what also got the classic stylings of a Gundam.
Was what basically led the way for the details in the helmets, the shape of the body.
Because every other mobile suit looks like a suit of armor. Like it doesn't look like a humanoid thing.
Yeah.
It was, I got a round head. I got a one eyeball. I got a gas mask looking mouth for some reason.
A bunch of them are like, this is a tank, and the pilot sits in a car, and he's got arms that are guns.
Yeah.
It's not...
Those are just the mobile suits in the universe. The Gundams were like, that's a metal person. Yeah,
they were the
next
That's
a giant
step.
Metal person.
And the RX-78 was the granddaddy of them all. Before any of the other Gundams came out, this was... the Gundam that started.
RX-78, he had the double plasma sabers, didn't he?
He had double plasma sabers over his shoulders.
Yeah, over his shoulders.
He had Vulcan cannons in his helmet, and he was a transformer. A lot of people forget this, but it was the Gundam itself didn't transform, but the pilot flew in a jet that then folded up and compacted into the legs and torso. Yeah. And it's something they didn't bring up too often, but that was like how it deployed. Remember that.
Yeah.
And it's a weird thing they didn't like, but that was the original.
I do. Yeah.
And I love it, but I'm not in love with it. So I put that as an honorable mention.
Well, then I will go into my number one because it is a very good segue from that. And my number one, which to me is the coolest mech ever, also in the Gundam universe. It is, and I'm gonna go with the number first, and then I'll go from there. I mean, you know what? I'm gonna fuck that. It's motherfucking Death Scythe.
Of course you went with you. Oh, do you want a fedora? Of course you went with Death Scythe.
I am the definition of edgelord almost all the time.
Oh man,
Death Scythe is the coolest mech. Period. That has ever existed. The silhouette of Death Scythe. You're telling me if you looked at the silhouette of every single mech, you wouldn't just be like, that's the cool one right there.
Death Scythe is what Gundams would be if 10-year-old boys had their way in the design.
Yeah, and I was a 10-year-old boy when I saw Death Scythe.
And it's also one of the least practical.
Because it's a CQC. It's a stealth but think about it though. So, okay, for those that don't know who Death Scythe is in Gundam Wing.
Yep.
And it is basically designation 01.
Yeah, which Death Scythe? Which? So you're doing OG Death Scythe.
I'm doing OG. Well, I mean, you have the upgraded Death Scythe, which is still piloted by Duo.
Yeah.
And
you're not doing Endless Waltz Death Scythe.
No. It was when he had the double and everything.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm just going with just plain old
straight up Death Scythe.
Just Gundam 001 from Gundam Wing. And basically in Gundam Wing, 5 Gundams were sent from the colonies to the planet.
Yep.
You had Gundam 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yep.
And
0 was Gundam Wing.
0 was Gundam motherfucking Wing, which was a cool one, but
he was awesome. He had the Buster Cannon, and he turned into a jet. But
in Endless Waltz, so did Death.
Well, that's true too. Yeah. But Death Scythe was cooler.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. I always liked Heavy Arms, so Heavy Arms was more practical.
Heavy Arms was very practical, but once again, Heavy Arms was also limited to at one point they literally say, be like, he ran out of bullets.
Yeah, he's just screwed. He's out of ammo.
And luckily Hard Rock showed up.
Yeah.
And was able to and then they tried to fight after that. But you know, it is what it is. That's just anime. But Death Scythe was modeled to look like the Grim Reaper.
Oh, yeah.
And even from like a design standpoint.
Like you even said, he was the edgelord Gundam. Yeah. He had black and white, basically.
And gold accents.
And gold accents.
So even from a color standpoint, he had
the black fins, like arrow fins, because underneath them were flight jets.
Yep. He had flight jets. And they also operated perfectly fine underwater, which they found out.
Yes. He had a plasma scythe.
Beam scythe.
Duh. Because he's Gundam Death Scythe.
Do you know the cool thing about that? And I found it out when I was doing a little bit more research about it. Just because I knew, like, he always one-shotted everything. Yeah. And there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
You remember when he first came and they were in the Cancer and the Cancer was the red one. I forget what the blue one was.
Aquarius.
The Aquarius. When they were trying to get Gundam Wing from the bottom of the ocean, and then Death Scythe showed up. And then he pulled out the scythe, and they were like, beam weapon. They're like, we're underwater. That shouldn't work that way. Yeah. There's a reason for it.
Okay.
It's basically hyper amped up, like to the point where it creates a field around it. It creates a magnetic field around the blade that is so hot and so powerful that most things that it touches, it disintegrates on the approach, not on contact.
Yeah. See, here's why I can believe the Death Scythe beam weapon is more powerful than most, because most of the beam swords or things like that in any Gundam but shows, they're the size of a handle, like of a sword.
Yeah.
And they produce a beam blade.
Yeah.
Death
so that means that the mechanism. Yeah.
The mechanism is yay long on most of them.
Yeah.
Death Scythe's is an entire handle of a staff.
Yeah.
So just imagine 8 to 10 times the power supply.
Yeah.
And then the end of it is a box.
Yep.
Of just pure,
technically at both ends, because he was able to make the beam go out of the bottom too.
Yeah, that's right.
He was able to make the little spike.
It's a quarterstaff of pure fuck you plasma.
Yep. And then he had on top of that the Buster Shield.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because he was designed for CQC, so he had the shield that could stop bullets and also other plasma beam weapons, and that had extendable blades. also made of fucking Gundanium.
Yeah.
And it can shoot off.
Yeah.
Like a Qatar.
Mm-hmm.
And come back.
Yeah.
Not to mention he had the Vulcan cannons.
Yeah. He just
in his head
on top of a ton of other like they
and then the machine cannons.
Yeah. So super cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I get. I'm on board. I get it. Death Scythe is cool.
It's all about aesthetics for me.
Very
I love
edgelord. Yeah.
It's when I think
and
of Mechs,
Duo
I think
is
of just
also
the look.
like the whiny emo character.
He's a smartass at the beginning.
Yeah.
But as it goes on, he definitely is more just like, God, why does this keep happening?
He is, yes, 100%. All right, my number one.
Okay, you're number one.
All right, bar none, hands down, all-time best, greatest in the world, the Megazord.
Okay, that was one of my honorable mentions.
Yeah, it's just, look.
Do you want to know why it didn't make my list?
Why?
Same thing as Voltron. 5 motherfucking pilots, 6 motherfucking pilots.
But here's why it works in.
Okay.
Here's why it works in Power Rangers.
Okay.
Because the Megazords, traditionally, are powered by the morphing grid.
Okay, that I do know. Yeah.
So, but they're not powered. They're not linked to the morphing grid in any way.
Okay.
The Power Rangers are the batteries.
Okay.
So they need all 5 there to run.
All right,
the
so
giant
that makes
fuck all
sense.
robot.
It makes sense that they're the power source. But which one's flying it then?
Well, they show like in multiple instances, it's really like
they're all doing stuff.
The leader's controlling things.
It's always the red one.
Yeah,
you could say it's always the red one.
Unless Green's there, then Green's doing it.
No, Green gets his own.
Yeah, and then but Green also ganks the
own.
team away from Red and it's like, no, you guys can combine with mine. It's better. And it is.
It's so much better.
And Red gets left out as a T-Rex.
I'll give you Dragon Megazord.
Yeah,
over that.
He's 100% better.
Yeah.
And then he can also combine with the other Megazord to make the Super Megazord. Yeah. Okay.
We got the fucking Brontosaurus dick
now,
coming
there's
out of the front.
ton of videos and stuff about how powerful the Megazords are.
Yeah.
Because they kind of like, Power Rangers is really bad at scaling and showing scale. And they're really bad at showing constants.
They're also really bad at keeping kids off the set.
Yeah, so there's a whole...
So sometimes children are the size of the Megazord.
Yeah, it's insane. But the Megazord itself, canonically, as far as actual history goes, comics, things like that, because there's really good Power Ranger comics out now.
There's a very deep universe when it comes to the Power Rangers.
And the morphing grid is basically infinite energy of pure balance. Mm-hmm. The power of the Zord, the first Megazord. I'm not going to go into later. There's a million Megazords, a million other things.
When we say Megazord, we're talking about
OG
first generation.
Yeah. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Yes.
Your T-Rex, Triceratops, Saber-Tooth Tiger, Mastodon, Pterodactyl. They combined to make the Megazord.
Yeah.
It looks boss. It looks like a good combination. It's got the fucking horns and the power sword. And it uses the Mastodon's face shield as a shield that also shoots cold.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's just awesome. And its power levels are insane. I think
it's
Death Battle does a whole thing about it.
Yeah. Didn't it go up against Voltron?
I think it did.
Yeah.
And then it gets into how you can actually compare, but it will always have a place in my heart as the cool, massive.
For most people, that was the first time
the first
seeing a giant robot. Like that was the time.
That was what indoctrinated a huge portion of the children of my generation to giant robots.
Yeah. It's the reason why you can go to anybody, even if, someone like, let's just say Kyle, who does not like anime at all. And you can say, hey, giant robot. He's going to go Megazord.
Yeah.
He has a giant robot in mind.
Yeah.
Even though he does not like the entire genre that pretty much popularized giant robots.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway.
So
that's our list.
Distracted me.
Yeah, the Megazord was classic,
So I mean,
I'm glad you brought Zoids in.
Yeah.
Before we did this, I had completely forgot about Zoids.
And what's funny is we didn't even, with the amount of things that we covered, we technically haven't even scratched the surface.
There's so many. There
were so many that I wanted to just talk about. Like I was like, Eureka 7, but I'll just I don't love any of them enough.
Go into the realm of more fantasy stuff like Evangelion is just
Escaflowne.
Escaflowne. We talked about Escaflowne before this, and it didn't make my list, but it's up there because it's a medieval
Gothic fully styled giant robot
transforming
that turns into a fucking dragon.
And analog. Yeah. So it's controlled by like levers and switches and like swinging your body in this thing. Mech. It's insane.
I would highly suggest watching it if you can deal with the really
bad quality of the show.
Animation quality.
After you said that, I looked it up, and it is
I told you
utter
it's really
garbage.
bad.
I had no idea.
Yeah. I don't know how we
young
watched it.
Child me looked at it and was like, "This is amazing."
And
adult me looks and goes, "How did I ever watch
this?" If you directly compare Escaflowne to another cartoon that came out at the same time, you're going to be like, that looks like it was made 30 years before Escaflowne or 30 years after Escaflowne.
Yeah,
because Escaflowne is it's so bad. That was back when they were still doing the hardly
it's the
any
same.
frames.
It's very similar.
Yeah,
art and like it's very similar production quality to original Gundam, the like RX-78 Gundam. And that came out in like the 70s or early 80s. It's old.
And I think Escaflowne was around the exact same time.
Yeah, it's real rough.
It came out, like, you can always tell when an anime came out based off of character design.
Yeah.
And Escaflowne and the original Gundam have pretty much the exact same facial structures and things like that. It was just that Speed Racer is in the same thing.
Speed Racer.
You can tell by their nose.
I mean, OG Voltron's pretty far back there.
Oh, yeah. Real OG.
Yeah.
I think that was like early 80s.
Well, that's like Voltron, He-Man.
Yeah.
A bunch of those are like early 80s, mid 80s, something like that. And they're kind of rough on the rewatch.
Yeah, it's difficult to watch. Yeah. But I mean, there's just so many gems. I mean, not even just in the world of anime, but anime has the most. Yeah. But there's mechs in everything.
I mean, like Pacific Rim I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Giant mech. I mean, I went to that movie for giant mechs versus kaijus, and I was not disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go into Pacific Rim being like, I'm expecting the most incredible story ever. You're like, I want to see a big robot punch a big monster.
Yeah, and
that's all I want to see.
They did a really good job of giving them weight. But anyway, if there's mechs that you think we missed, you got a favorite, I want to know.
Yeah.
I love mechs. Maybe there's something I haven't seen. Please tell me. I want to see
let us
some
know in the
good
comments.
Yeah.
Give us your suggestions. And honestly, if you feel like we didn't go over one of your favorites enough, throw out some stats in the let's get a conversation going
we
here.
We messed up the list.
Yeah.
Tell us why.
If you think Deathside should have been number 1 on both of our lists, then just
if
go with
you
that.
think Jared is also an edgelord who needs a custom fedora that says Death Scythe on it, please feel free to send that in.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to send it in, we'll make a P.O. box.
Yeah, make a P.O. box so Jared can get his Death Scythe fedora. Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right, well, hey, thank you for listening.
Definitely. So if you are just listening to this,
yes,
you can find this video form on youtube.com/Rum Runnas Entertainment. If you're watching us, make sure to listen on all the audio platforms. Follow, share us with your friends. Spread the nerdiness around to everybody. Yeah. Everybody's got a nerd inside of them.
And like I said, hit us up. Let us know what you want us to talk about. If we got any of the mechs wrong, whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, have a good one.
Take care.
Stay weird, nerdy.
Stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy. Yes, stay nerdy.
Fucking nerdy.
Stay freaking giant robots. No.